how are you doing? This is Roger, Grubus Games Unlimited. And first of all, I want to thank you for your time checking this out. And I hope everyone is doing awesome this summer and hope you're enjoying your summer. And it is July 1st. It's very late right now when I'm recording this. So I want to say I hope everyone has a really nice and safe 4th of July. So, hey, let's get on with this. So I really thought, I think some of you know me, I speak from the heart, I don't script anything, so we're going to jump around and talk about a bunch of stuff today. Hope you don't mind this format, but I have a lot of stuff to show you and talk about, so hopefully we'll have a great time together. So we're looking at the full reveal and some discussion about the fourth and final dungeon board, Cavern of Lost Souls. And I'll tell you what, guys, I spent a lot of time on the blueprint or layout and the design of this. I spend a lot of time in all of them, but because this is the fourth one, I wanted to give all of us just an awesome, last dungeon for of course, this game. So we're going to jump around here. So why don't we go to a big map of Avalon? Let's take a look at, here's the map of Avalon that I did up. Well, actually, Damien Mamalady painted this incredible map. I, of course, gave him my prototype. And Damien was artist on 2015's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And we're going to just quickly go over the map here. Hopefully you don't mind seeing all this. And we'll talk about some key dungeons as we go across. And every time I look at this map, it's like I find something new that he put on it. And so there's that. And our first dungeon here, get my red pen thing, is Ancient Runes. And this was the first dungeon that we did. Shaun Ellis, the incredible Shaun Ellis, we kind of teamed up on this. I did the blueprint layout, and then he did the dungeon. And here's what this kind of looks like right here. These colors are a little bit saturated. When you get your game, they're not gonna be this bright. It was just this photo shoot. My idea with this dungeon was to do something like a throwback to Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest. I love those games. If you know me, I love the PC golden age of RPGs like Baldur's Gate and Eye of the Beholder, Ultima, Might and Magic, Wizardry. But so this board, I wanted to have a very retro look to those games, but of course make it, its own identity for the Dungeon Crusade universe. Going back here, and of course we use the same format that I did the design of it, and then Shaun takes it and then of course does the professional job, and he does such an awesome job at this. Going back over our map here, and notice the different zones, like how they're almost color coded, but just a lot of variety in the lands. So we're going to scroll down to the south. Here is another one of the boards. Same thing, I did the design. I actually researched castles for a few months before doing this dungeon board, and Castle Blackwood. We have a reveal for all of these. You really should check out this. This looks amazing in person, and in the reveal video it looks incredible. Same thing we're going to see with Cavern of Lost Souls. I did the layout for it, and then Shaun came in and just blew us away with this incredible design. So I'm trying to be quick so I don't hold you guys up, and we're going to go down south further. Oh, we got to go across. So scan over here real quick, and we'll go down. We'll just end it there. This map is quite vast. Here's what we're going to be talking about today, Cavern of Lost Souls. We're going to get to that in a moment. And finally over here brings us to our last dungeon, the Tomb of Caladar. And actually Damien right now is doing the Tomb of Caladar, and we're keeping that under wraps, and it looks amazing when you see this board. And this one's kind of different. I mean, all four boards, people have mentioned that these are really different locations, and that's what I was going after, to give everyone something totally different for each board, not make it so samey. And believe me, all four are completely different. And the Tomb of Caladar is a very deadly dungeon, probably the toughest dungeon in the game, and there's a unique trap system plus some very creative things I put in there for you guys that are going to challenge your heroes. But we're going to be revealing that later this summer. Full reveal for that. Okay, so let us go to my prototype board. Now, remember, when you see this, this is just my thing I put together. Of course, this, just like all the other ones, This goes to Shaun, and he's already starting to paint the final version. But I have to say, I like the charm of this board. I like old school stuff, you know me. And so even this, I'm happy to play in something like this because it's just, you know, it looks like, you know, retro or old and that. So I hope you don't mind my, you know, putting this together like this. Okay, and you know, I took a lot of time too at the design of this because it was the 4th board and just wanted to knock the ball out of the park for us. I wrote a story for this board, and of course you could create your own quests and scenarios in Dungeon Crusade. But let's start with, as I said, it's going to be all over the place. Let's start with the first quest I wrote, and maybe I'll read this to you guys, and hopefully we'll have a good time. So this is called The Lost Patrol. Wait, before that, let's do this. Let's go over here, and notice the area where Cavern of Lost Souls is. It's very like dying land almost, you know, like it's almost dead. There's, you know, dead trees. There's this crater here with this green ooze in it. Here's the Vile Tower, another dungeon that might be coming soon. And so, you know, just to get a lay of the land, you see it's very bleak. So I just wanted to show you that, you know, this is like kind of our setting for this. So the Lost Patrol. As the heroes enter the dark and dreary village of Mirkwood, they are greeted warmly by Marshal Duncan. Friends, if you are in search of withered trees, swamps, and fog you could cut through, welcome to Mirkwood, he says jokingly. On a more serious note, thank you for answering the summons. We are in need of your assistance. Communications with the small village of Briarwood to the far north have been lost. Just days ago, I sent 2 young recruits to investigate the village. Both officers, Evan and Jonathan, have not returned as of yet. So your mission is twofold. Investigate the village of Briarwood and find the 2 missing officers. And let's stop there. And notice at the top here that, you know, where it has CLS and this symbol, Anna Kamar, very charming gal, is another artist on Dungeon Crusade, and she came up with icons for us because I thought, you know, there's so many quest cards, you know, in this game for the main quests and the side quests. This is a main quest, by the way, that we're going to need some kind of system. And so Annika, just, you know, being the incredible fantasy artist she is, she came up with these symbols here. And of course, Ancient Runes, Cavern of Lost Souls, Tomb of Kaladar, and Castle Blackwood. So when you're thumbing through your quest cards, you can easily identify them. I believe it's really gonna pay off to have something like that. So let's go over here to the board and take a look at, you know, we have our quest. We have to head north here. So notice the white dotted line. This is where you put your heroes. You start, you know, you play 6 heroes. Of course, Dungeon Crusade was built from the ground up for solo play or co-op play. You place your 6 heroes within this white square, and then Albus, you have a fetch hound that goes back to the village for you to get you supplies, potions, gear, craft gems from mining. So he can be placed anywhere around the heroes in these spaces here. And also, this is a very there's the patrol routes for the monsters, you know, like what they travel for their AI is not on this board. The mining sites and the treasure chests, the various treasure chests that you can open, and some other things. So this is just a very rough look at the board. So what we're going to do is we're going to head north to investigate Briarwood. And just looking real quick to the east, here is the Swamp of Sorrow. So I'll give you some points of interest, you know, as we head up here to Briarwood. So our first stop here would be as we go up. And of course, this Dungeon Crusade, it's non-linear. You don't have to do anything. You do where you go where you want. You do what you want in this game. So you don't have to do a main quest first. You could do a side quest or just go open treasure chests. You do whatever you want within the game. So as we go up here, here is this kind of tranquil area to otherwise bleak board, Mystic Falls. And notice over here, Raven's Cove. And there's like a little trail here, and there's an entrance, a secret entrance into the cavern with Black Mar Grotto. So I just wanted to point this out. And there's a very small quest that deals with Raven's Cove and an elderly man who lived in Briarwood who would come and feed the ravens. So it's another quest for another time. Okay, so we are going to head north to continue this Lost Patrol quest. So as we get here, we're getting into Briarwood here. Here's Southern Briarwood, and just kind of like a point of interest again, here is Dark Moon Logging Camp. And so some lore for there is that the logging camp would provide wood to the Avalon Valiant Army, like for their weapons and that. And then this white rock here, these rocks, that's of course a wall. So we're going to get into this area here, but we're going to keep continuing north. And when we get really into Briarwood, there's these, skeletons. And you find out that the village is just desolate. There's nothing. There's no villagers here. They're gone. And for this quest, we have to look for officers Evan and Jonathan. And when you search the chambers here, of course, there's going to be quest items inside here. You find Evan's badge and Jonathan's wedding ring. And so, of course, this is what you need to bring back. It says this on the reverse side of that quest card, that you have to bring them back when you turn the quest in. And, you find that they've been just tore apart. And, this is all that remains of them. But also, you find a letter here by a girl named Lyra. And so let's take a look at this letter that she left. The night has closed in on Briarwood, and I hear them coming. I snuck out without Papa knowing and hid in the trees by Dark Moon Logging Camp and saw those things. I counted 7 this time. They always come from the Valley of Shadows. I think they live in that cavern or something. Those red eyes scare me. I'm not going back. I'll hide somewhere. Lyra. And so, we learned that this little girl here lived in Briarwood, and these things with red eyes would come into the village, and she's hiding. So what happens is, and here is I'll show you that in a second, but the second part of this chain quest is from Marshall Duncan, you have to go look for Lyra. He thinks that there could be answers, what are these things with red eyes, and what happened to this village. It's getting, I tried to make this as it's building up to something for you. And so on the second part of the quest, there is Lyra, and this was done by all the quest tokens were done by Annika, and just her fantasy art is just amazing. So when you start the second part of the quest, it's good. You have to find Lyra, for answers of what's kind of going on. But the cool thing is about this quest, and many of these, like we're doing a main quest, of course, it's always changing. Every time you play this, Lyra is going to be in a different location. She could be in Dark Moon Logging Camp one game. She could churn up in the Swamp of Sorrow. She could be in Blackmar Grotto hiding, or she could be in Dugan's excavation camp. And Martin Dugan runs this excavation camp, and he was hired to come in with his men and excavate this part of the cavern. Well, in the course of doing part 2, you find a letter left by Martin Dugan. So let's take a look at that real quick. Day 52. So he left this note, and it says, "This excavation was not worth the trouble. Just days ago, we encountered a vast spider's lair within this cursed place. The spiders within this lair attacked with great aggression, and as a result, 2 of my men have perished, and a few have been badly injured. However, we have discovered something. There is a hidden passage one of the workers have found within the cavern. It leads to some archaic runes that look quite unsettling. We plan to enter into these runes in hopes of finding treasure. Ha! This would make this excavation all worth the while then." So from this note, you find out that they have found this, secret passage to this, these runes, these old runes. Before we head in there, I do want to make mention of something, a very cool little area, and actually another character from the story of Dungeon Crusade. And right here, this is Wrens Sanctuary, and Wren is this fiery redhead warrior, and she's kind of like a rogue hero, and she defends the land of Avalon. And let's go back here to here, I already had it circled for you. This is Wren's Crossing, and there was a famous battle here where her and her comrades fought off the Ravaged Undead, another faction in Dungeon Crusade. And the Ravaged Undead will be introduced later with some other like book 2 of Dungeon Crusade. But I just wanted to touch on that and let you know, there's a lot of story here that in cool little areas like this. But what's interesting here is see the little path here, this hidden path. I love little hidden paths. There's a well with a ladder that goes down, and it comes out here. And this is the first dungeon that'll have actually like a little secret entrance or a secret passage, so you could go from one area right to another. And quite simply, you spend 1 movement point. So say our barbarian was here, and he had 4 movement. You would go 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can't stay on the ladder though. So you always have to have that movement to get off the ladder. So, if you only had 1, you couldn't stop there. So I just wanted to share with you Wrens Sanctuary, another cool little place. And real quickly, here's a crypt here. The doors have been smashed down, and this is Crypt of the Betrayer. And there's a quest for this, of what happened within this crypt. So let's go all the way back here, all the way back over here to Dugan's excavation camp. And we're going to head north into Hollowing Cavern. And I'm keeping something hidden from you right now. But so as we head north, we see here's the spider's lair and Red Widow spider lair. And so kind of a little reveal here, you're going to be seeing the next Guardian that Freddie Lopez is doing, his incredible art, and he's creating all the heroes and monsters. Red Widow is this monstrous spider I came up with, and she has a lot of very nasty special abilities. And so this is where Red Widow, the Guardian, is kind of indigenous to this dungeon board. And so when they found this was her lair, and these are her spider eggs, and one of the reasons why the spiders were so hostile. So let's just shoot up here real quick. Remember, we from Lyra's letter, here's the Valley of Shadows, and then the Forbidden Cave. So we're about to see this area right here, and I'm going to do a big reveal, kind of a surprise I haven't said before, because I was waiting for this moment to do it. So they found, from that letter, they found this archaic rune place. And right here, let's just put that here. I really love this area, guys. I hope you like this. So as you notice, we were just looking at Crypt of the Betrayer, and there's a wall smashed in here. And here's this hidden passage. And what I thought was unique was, I'm going to move it up a little bit, that instead of just having a route, like to go, if you notice, it's all blocked. And so I made some rocks here, and I thought it would be cool where the heroes have to go, it's the same thing, it's moving, but they have to like kind of jump from rock to rock to get across this area, instead of just having a normal pathway where you see it's blocked by these little, dirt hills or mountains. So just a kind of a cool little thing. So we're ready for the secret area, and kind of like a reveal here for you. One area is pretty heavy here. So what they found is this area here, and I'm getting into the other one. This area belonged to this ancient race of monster, a kind of humanoid kind of monster that lived in Avalon, and they have been awakened. And so right here, this is the Chamber of Last Rites, and I came up with this cool like skull thing that looks almost like a stained glass window. Again, I'm dying to see Shaun's recreation of this, but I really spent a lot of time in this area. So what Dugan's men found is this old place where these creatures lived, and you can guess what happened to the villagers and his men, that this ancient race has them, and they brought them back into this place. And moving over here, and if you notice, there's like, here's Chamber of Last Rites and the Sanctum of Oblivion, where maybe some villagers have been. And then over here to, it's called Cavern of Lost Souls, the Chamber of Lost Souls. And these are like souls of people that they have been harvesting. And then finally, where they've been doing with these bodies, the Pit of the Blood God. And kind of a heavy scene. Maybe we'll zoom in a little bit on this grotesque scene. But there's a podium here, and this blood god of theirs, and this is a deity of the underworld, and I've spoke about before. So they're bringing these people and villagers, and they're sacrificing them to this blood god. This is this little archaic area right here. And so I spent a lot of time on this, and we're going to wrap this up here. I spent a lot of time on this last area here, and hopefully what I wanted to do was kind of tell a story through this, like the Chamber of Last Rites and all these other places of what happened to the villagers and what's going on in this land, and maybe why it's dying is, you know, this god that, you know, they have been worshiping in the dying land. And what the whole secret was I wanted to tell you is that, you know, I developed this new race that's kind of a humanoid kind of monster, and it's going to be introduced into Dungeon Crusade. It's going to probably be in an expansion, I hope to do. This game is so jam-packed right now, guys, with so much stuff that we just couldn't put it in here. But this is coming for you. There's a lot of minions that, I'm not saying the name of the race yet, but minions that will travel around the board, new champions for you, and a new guardian for this area. So this was a look at the prototype board of, and we're going to pull back here a little bit so you can see the whole thing. So, you know, here's where we started out at, right here, and then here's the Swamp of Sorrow, and we went up here into Briarwood, and then, you know, that Lyra talked about the Valley of Shadows, and then over here to Dugan's excavation camp, and then, you know, we learned about the Spider Lair and Red Widow. We have a grotto here, and the secret passage or hidden passage that goes into this, you know, race of, you know, ancient creatures that have been awoken, and, you know, your heroes are going to have to deal with now. And of course, Crypt of the Betrayer. Let me erase all that. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this was kind of a long video. I hope you didn't mind it, and I hope you like the look at this. And of course, when Shaun gets the whole board, you know, fully done for the game, I'll be back with a full review of a reveal of that, and then you can kind of compare them, you know, to what the prototype was and his amazing art and that. So guys, I hope you didn't mind all the time. I love chatting with you. I love chatting about Dungeon Crusade and, you know, sharing what I can with you. And what else can I tell you? Right now I'm working on a huge update with Tavern Task cards for you. And what else am I doing? Doing so much stuff. And writing out some more quests. And just a lot of stuff's going on as we try to wrap up Dungeon Crusade for you. Okay, guys, I'm out of here. Again, this is Roger, Groovis Games Unlimited. Really, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, just, you know, let me know. I love talking about the game. So, guys, have a great weekend. Have a great 4th of July. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.